are live at Ponta Preta on the island of Sal in Cabo Verde for the 2022 SOMWR 10x Cabo Verde Pro. We've been blessed with an opportunity here to start at legendary Ponta Preta, which is exactly where we are. Probably about 10 minutes remaining in this heat. I have nothing in front of me but Ponta Preta and no scores, nothing. It's Toma Traversa and Camille Juban in this heat. And you're watching Traversa right there, setting up for what's going to be a decent look here. Head high wave possibly when it breaks. Traversa's got a couple scores behind him already, and Camille should be in the lead in this heat from what I've seen. This is heat number 1. Duncan Coombs calling for an 8:30 a.m. start. Drill sergeant head judge definitely knows the fickle nature of this wave and definitely didn't want to waste any time in swell. We're going through a bit of a high tide cycle. It's flattened the swell out. We've seen logo high sets and some pretty stellar wave rides already, both in the warm-up and this heat. As you see, legendary Ponta Preta, people, passerby, fishermen, locals, and tourists alike. And that's a point break that will reel on a good day for probably about 300 yards down the line. It's one of the wonders of the world in my book. And many others, as countless footage from both free sailing competition and movies spanning generations. This has become a dream destination for any wave sailor. And today might not exactly be the day that people are dreaming of, but there have been some standout moments. Trust me, we just brought it to you live here on Instagram, and within that exchange there were a couple of fireworks going down. Guys are like on 4.7s. I wouldn't say that it is overpowered, but the way you need to rig for Ponta Preta is if you're flying planing going out, if you catch one of these waves, you're going to be overpowered. And that's not what these riders want to do. They want to ride somewhat of a bigger board and a smaller sail to be able to navigate that takeoff zone. And that's what you're seeing, kind of the jockeying going down as we've been in about a 10-minute lull here since the last good exchange. And there can't be too much time left in this heat, actually. And there are some battle royales coming up here. Bit of a lower set off your screen here. And we do have a rider well in position to get a score here, way deep. This might not end well. Ooh, skirts over one rock. Here comes the high line to the main part of the wave. And I think we're going on the rocks, folks. He's probably got enough gumption to deal with it, but it's not looking good. Once you make a mistake at Ponta Preta, you have people watching you get massacred on the rocks like this. It's a little disheartening. Like, people want to try and help, but there's really nothing you can do, and you've got to kind of just like rock lobster it over it and suffer in front of people. Camille Juban has done it before, and he's not going to do it right now. He's coming from behind, shoulder high wave, in between set, but Juban has a little wizardry going here, and he's also smart. He's like, no thank you, I shall kick out and get the other. Juban has crushed this heat. Earlier he had a 6-point ride on a proper logo high set and skied his Juban Airlines. Those of you who know, know. and he skied a super sick air right over the shallow section. I think there was like 2 good ones on that wave. It was one of those ones where he went down the point and you couldn't really like see him anymore, and the judges kind of like stopped paying attention. We'll get a little more information for you in a second here, but I do see Ricardo Campello going out, and I know this second heat, as if the first one wasn't hard, there are a couple heats in the first round that look like finals. Cheers, mate. Thank you. All right. Let's get you up to date. Now I'm going to be like you guys, being able to follow this thing. Pretty rare to have some signal here in Cabo Verde, but I've got signal now. Watch out. Okay, we got a little bit of action here. You just want to see some movement on the point. St. Fool's Gold. Every now and then there's a nugget coming in here. Make me want to just toss myself out there in the middle of this heat. It's so fun to sail Punta Preta. It's such a clean wave. It's just a little fickle, you know, you got to be pick and choose, but the right one, it takes you all the way to the shore break. It's amazing. Then you've got a real problem because you can't like stop thinking about it. You have to always like fixate on it. Camille Juban, live and direct. Right in front of the rocks, bottom turned over a dry rock practically, and made it look pretty good. I mean, it's a score. It's not on par, unfortunately, what he did earlier, but this might be an opportunity for Traversa. You see to the right of your screen, winding up his coil here, but kicks out. I think he wants a better standard too. Sometimes you get fooled into some of these looks, like that wasn't really a good wave. I probably would have gotten suckered into it. Okay, Traversa is in first position, at least based on this update here, with Juban in second. Juban with a 5.75 and a 4.62, 6.38 and 5.12 for Traversa. And there we have it. You can see Josh Angulo sailing out. Here's our local standout for the moment he set foot on this island nearly 20 years ago. I should say well over 20 years ago, pardon me. Traversa, Juban, Ishii, and Fidel Morales was our fourth rider in this heat. Ishii's had some looks and he's got a 6.5 as one of his waves. So he's in striking distance here. If he can just pull the trigger on this ride, this is a big moment for Ishii. And a really good choice of wave here. Bogged his rail a little bit. Maybe didn't see the lower line that he needed to sky that section over the dry. I think he got a little shaken up by that one that he just went on the rocks first wave of the heat. But he is wholly capable of still getting into this. Not much time left in this heat. I don't know the specifics, but it ain't much. Juban can play keep away a little bit. This is at a point in the level of consistency of the swell where you can just get on waves and occupy, which isn't really the most sportsmanlike way to go about it, but the reality is if you can't get on waves, you can't get scores. And Ishii's never really been one of those guys to like hassle tactics or anything, but he's got a hustle one right now from these guys. And I do see that there is a buoy in the water, but that isn't a priority buoy. I think it's a boundary buoy just based on where you can sail. It's time to get busy though. If you find one that's gonna reel low, you've got to get it. You have to. It's pretty gripping for 2-foot surf, and you know the hassle game comes into play with the resource. Like there might only be one really good one. You got to get on it. Okay, Ishii realizes what's on the clock, which is not much left. If he keeps his eyes open, there definitely was a bit of a lower set, and he did. His eyes are wide open. He's like, okay, this one. Ishii's got a shot here. He's not going to need a huge score to catch Juban. Juban's got a 4.62 and a 3. Ishii's sitting on a 6.5. This is big danger for Juban if Ishii can pull the trigger, but Traversa's behind him, and this turns into a hassle exchange here. I won't say hassle, but nope, Traversa got him off it. And now Ishii attacks again, only to have Juban speeding at him from out of nowhere. Trauma Traversa sealing the deal on his heat. That was a nice little, was that a rail grab? It almost looked like it. Oh, TT right on the high line and out. He likes his gear too. No need go on the rocks when you're in their lead, yeah. Here's Juban to your right. High-speed train down the line. He's taking it all the way home. Classic Punta Preta line. As you can imagine what this place would look like when it's mast high. Trust me, you'll be changed forever. Oh my goodness, Ishii with a huge opportunity to get back in the seat because Juban's ride probably wasn't a showstopper there. Is this on the horn or anywhere near it? Ishii might have wanted to look around behind him. There were some bigger ones, but this is going to have to do it. Here comes there's Ishii. Thank you. Sets it up. Skies it floater line in front of the rocks and is going to make it, but he catches his clue, unfortunately. That was unfortunate as Toma just skied one right in his face. Oh my goodness. Hopping the rocks, negotiating it. It's all about Punta Preta at high tide. It comes right against this shelf here. And I feel like it was kind of communicated to the sailors, in fact, that length of ride only matters at somebody. If you're streaking downwind, you know, and they're probably going to stop scoring you down low. I'm just saying, like, we want to see vertical wave riding. I was in the booth before we started sailing here and listened to Duncan Coombs, head judge, inform the judges of basically what we're looking for here. And it is a very offshore spot and lends itself to certain ways of riding it. But he was like, yeah, we're not rewarding, you know, those horizontal long jump line errors as much as we want to reward the vertical wave riding approach, tight pocket riding. You want to see it, you know, bring it back to surfing and that level of riding that you can, because we're at a point break here. And Punta Preta is going to have one to herself here in the front, and that wave you're watching, and that's just going to be super fun to ride no matter who you are, where you are. That's a nugget right there. Love this spot. It's very special. A lot of memories here. Over 26 years and 18 trips for me. I don't even get me started. Part of them are in contests, but the majority are outside of the competition. You can imagine what this place is capable of. You've seen it in the magazines and the movies. And it's definitely contestable. I'll say this, you know, Duncan getting started at 8:30 in the morning with a 45-minute heat. That's a heck of a wake-up call for anybody in Heat 1. And anybody who knows their salt here knows what's coming. This is, you know, this place can kind of fire in the morning like that. And we'll see what transpires here, whether or not that we're going to have, you know, similar conditions, or it's going to go through a lull, or what we've got. But I applaud the decision, you know, to get started here. There's been some good rides. And let's get the show rolling. This is the first wave contest we've had on the PWA Tour in over 2 years. It's great to be back. If I remember correctly, we were signing off in the 2019 Aloha Classic, having crowned Philip Koster world champion. And, you know, high hopes for the next tour. And then, you know, Koster's still champion right now. Got 2 bonus years for nothing, I guess. And you know, he's in a position right here with the situation on the tour right now, which was last year. I think the people from SOMWR 10x had put up some prize money for an event in Caro, and I don't think that that's the first place people, you know, think about for a world wave title. It might get good, that's fine, but the point is the sailors really, you know, demanded that we start prioritizing wave locations. And Cabo Verde is, of course, a place that comes to mind right off the bat, naturally. What we need to remember is just the fickle nature of the place and the fact that, you know, Punta Preta, especially the fable that it is also very elusive and not entirely always producing that Hollywood material. But trust me, stick with us. There have been some standout moments here. It's been shutting on and shutting off, and definitely when we were in the tower about an hour and a half ago, it was truly turning on here. And I think what we're seeing is the high tide moment right now, and the swell is slightly turning north. And I think we have exchanged heats here. Let me check my ticker. And we'll see if that's a final result here with Traversa in first and Giban in second. And I think that will stick. Okay, we're final with that. So moving right along to the next heat here. Heat 2. You can also follow the live ticker on pwaworldtour.com. Might be following it quicker than I'm able to here. Just fumbling around. All right, we can breathe a sigh of relief, but we do have a result here from that first heat. And why not? In the second heat is, in fact, Runes, Arutkin, Campello, and Angulo. The heat after that, Ezzy, Albert, Swift, and Warcall. Heat number 4, Chapuis, Noiro, Marsilio Brown, and Fleche. Yeah, we're definitely in between sets and in between heats. Why don't we go for a little ad time? Stick with us here at pwaworldtour.com at the SOMWR 10x 2022 Cabo Verde Pro. Be right back.
The board feels great. It's kind of a bigger wave board and helps you out a lot on passing the white waters, passing the waves, and like going against the current. In these side onshore conditions, when it's light winds, I'm struggling to do that because of my weight, and on this I felt it's super easy. So I think it's perfect for people to start learning how to wave sail and to jump and wave ride.
We want to make wave riding accessible to everyone in any conditions. Do you want to wave ride even if the wind is light and the currents are strong? The Code 2022 is a free wave board like no other. With volumes ranging from 85 all the way up to 135 liters. This year we have increased the area behind the fin. This gets you lifted up to speed even quicker. To balance it out, we also increased nose area, which creates a smooth ride in choppy water.
All right, we're back after a unfortunately ill-timed commercial there. Josh Angulo just got a nice ride in front of the crowd. We're on into the next heat here. And what we had basically in the last heat, just to reiterate, was Giban and Traversa advancing over Morales and Ishii. 40 minutes left in this heat. Now we're getting back to normal here. It's looking like a real ticker there. There's your buoy, which is basically your competition arena. Non-competitors can't really barge in the lineup. Campello, Arutkin, Runes, and Angulo. Josh scores a 3.62 for his first ride. And the scale's low. I mean, you'll see a ride and you're like, wow, that looked like more than that. But look where we are. We're in Punta Preta. Guys can get 12 bottom turns and 4 aerials on one wave. Not to mention what else they're capable of. Here's Ricardo Campello, V1111, kicking out. And Josh Angulo, local knowledge, as we saw yesterday evening session, paying off. Here he goes on his second wave ride. He's going to give a little elbow. And then just side cracks the whole thing over the rocks. Aerial kick out. And it's his second score. And he knows just as well as anybody. Sometimes we've been out here and it's gone from logo high to lights out in less than 5 minutes. And then gets right back in there. You've got to understand this place just turns on and off. And it's such a unique setup because you're at the top of this point that's sheltered in a bay, essentially. So that's why swell direction is really important here. And yesterday evening session, we won't really see much footage from it. But yeah, well, the PWA's got a couple clips. So we scored last night, you know, head high Punta Preta, when it's a little lower tide and breaking a little further out. It's a little more approachable. This high tide situation with small swells, dicey at best. And I'm sure there's people who know all about that who are watching this going, man, I'm kind of glad I'm not forced to go on those rocks. We all did yesterday, but it was worth it. You can just pile right off of it. Had it been bigger, we would have never been getting away with that. But there's some footage from yesterday, I might add, which was a very fine sailing day here in Cabo Verde. Really not just yesterday, but a lot of leading up to this event. There's been some futuristic, insane technical ripping going on. I mean, I'm talking about, you know, Taka's on command, Bent Rodinger, and, you know, Brasilio, obviously. And then we get to see Koster do this really nice planted forward, I won't say off the lip, but, you know, like just a stick forward into a Taka or a goiter. And that kind of was like, you know, that set the tone a little bit as well. And then there's a clip of T-Toon doing a back loop off the lip and landing it perfectly. I mean, this is video game stuff going to the next level. I did 2 years. What I will say, having been here for some of these warm-up sessions, the level of sailing is through the roof, you guys. So this is kind of like what it was last night in between the sets. We just want to see some more sets, but Josh Angulo's not going to wait for any set. He's going to get busy right there under the lip, like he likes to do. He knows this place so well. Even there. Splat. It's part of the game. You bounce off of those rocks. It's nothing, you guys. Well, unless you hit a couple urchins. Graham Ezzy has a toe with a couple urchins in it. Josh unfortunately timed that really poorly. There's a wave going to break on his head now. This exchange might be going the way of the other competitors because there's a set here. Campello, now properly lined up, slams the lip but takes it around too hard. He's in contest mode. And you just can't wrap it around that hard at Punta Preta or you get slapped behind. Too bad for him. That was a nice looking wave too. Runez, under the lip, gets a little stock air over the section, buries his rail on the cutback. So there are these moments, and there are a few that are better than that. But, you know, Campello's wave had high scoring potential to it. Back to yesterday and the warm-up for this contest as we look at our judges judging. 36 minutes left. Plenty to play for here, but that's Alex Mussolini, who's a former tour standout. And top 8 sailor. And trust me, any of the sailors in this fleet looking up at Alex Mussolini as a judge know that there's nothing you can do to tell him about what the scores he's laying down. He's going to get full respect. You know, the gnarly shredders know what good sailing is all about. This is Arthur Arutkin halfway through the ride. Campello behind him. There you go. Right there, Ricardo Campello skying a proper Punta Preta air. That's what I'm talking about, you guys. Now he's going to pay. He's going on the rocks. Let me promise you, that will be your one little freeze frame moment. That was a gigantic error over dry reef. You know, consequences are cool. And there you have it. You think going on the rocks will keep us bad? Try Punta Preta, man. Here we go. Runes right behind him. He's probably going to line up Campello and do an arrow over his head. Not quite, but almost. Look at that. Nice little floater line. He knew where he was on the wave, too. Now we're getting an exchange here. There's actually a set coming in. All this in-between stuff really shut it down. Angulo should have never gone on that little wave. I don't imagine Josh on anything else but one of the waves of this set. And that was consequential for Josh because he needed to be on one of these waves. Look at this set. Arthur Arutkin with Punta Preta to himself. Proper Punta Preta wave here. Now you can get fired up. This is what I was talking about earlier. This stuff's coming in too, everybody. Look at this. Oh. Nice bottom turn from Arthur. Right in the pocket. This thing's lining up across. Give us something to work with, buddy. Big hit under the lip. He's racing it now, and Punta Preta's going to give him a little whack upside the head for kind of not making that wave. Now there's nobody in the lineup, and it is firing. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Ricardo, big miserable rock jaunt for his aerial effort, which was massive. I have no idea where Josh ended up. I don't see him anywhere. He went on at the worst possible spot of the rocks on the very top. And might have had something of a small lead at the time, but that might be all gone now. We'll see. He's got a 3.62 and a 1.62. Right now, it's got the lead. Campello's score is a 4.5 and a 0.5. So really, Campello's only score is the thing here, but Campello's back out. And believe me, that matters because there is still some corduroy. He missed one of the best waves of that set, but Campello's motoring out there. And there's Angulo, unfortunately. Does he have an intact rig? We will find out. A little bit of a busted boom. Oh no. Campello switches around. There we go. Lineup shot. Big fireworks on the point. Punta Preta, African dream setup here. It's got its moments, guys. Look at this. Oh no. Okay, Runes is your rider. On this way behind him is Campello. Try and keep this 1-2 exchange, guys. Here comes Runes fitting into it. Campello's behind him. Runes on a really good wave. This is proper Punta Preta. Gliding down the line. And he's midway through his ride behind him. Campello out. There's Campello. Campello had a ridiculous carve that you missed on that one. And we'll get our sequencing together here. It's tough to kind of work with Punta Preta and get everything on one ride. But you followed Runes down, and right on Runes' second turn, Campello was opening it up. And sorry, there's no replay. You're just gonna have to take my word for it. Campello is going to have his difference maker, and it didn't happen automatically. He had to go through some considerable hardship there. Now Josh Angulo's back in the lineup. He had fixed his boom and gotten back into the game, and we'll see how that affects him now. And we'll see basically also 30 minutes left in this heat. So, you know, Josh took one on the chin there. So did Campello, actually, with that huge error. Skied on the rocks. Oh, unfortunately, that's a Rootkin dealing with some issues. And we'll see exactly. It's like a boom end deal. Josh has found his way back out. And now he's in scoring contention here, sitting in second place in this heat. He is still ahead of Runes. Might not have gotten his last score, but maybe he did, actually. Okay, Josh is in second. Campello with an 8.38 on that last wave. I told you that was a nugget. And we've reached the lull stage of this heat. There was a definite exchange of waves there, and an unfortunate situation if you happen to be Arthur Rutkin or Josh Angulo. Rutkin, you know, kind of got shut down on his ride, stayed a little bit too far behind it. Didn't really look like he had a plan. He was just letting the wave tell him what to do, and he didn't do anything, so the wave didn't give him anything, kind of thing. Runez was on a nugget, went all the way through. Behind him, Campello absolutely slayed for an 8.3, the highest score so far in the event. And that puts Campello in a very commanding position. We all know what Josh Angulo is wholly capable of here. And Josh, you know, to his credit, always goes through these early round jitter stage rattling experiences. He had his right there. Bobbled a little, knee-high wave, fell, got caught inside, missed the set. That's what happens here. One bad decision will lead to a sequence of bad events. I mean, after that, it got taken out of his hands. We have replay. There's Campello's big hit. Look at this offering. Punta Preta at its finest. Thank you for the replay. That's what we want. Look at that. Oh man, sign me up for that. We really got lucky with any opportunity here at Punta Preta. And there are some really nice moments. And the level of riding, as it is right now, really makes up for any lack of conditions. We have an exchange coming up here. Angulo trying to scrap into first position here is pumping on a wave. The first one's going unridden. Angulo's on the second one. And there's a little jockeying for wave number 3, which actually might be the best wave of the set. Well, you see guys are getting into the wave behind the peak. And here comes Angulo. He's lighting up a high line right here. Here's Punta Preta under the hook like he likes it. And then a second hit. And probably a third speed line down the line. Angulo's going to send it off this. Classic Josh Angulo style right there. Nobody on the second wave. Stay right here. And there you go. Takes it to the inside and kicks out. As good as you could hope for today. Runez on an opportunity behind him. Nothing doing. Keep it on Josh. There we go. Here we go. That was the exchange. The level of local knowledge for Josh to go on the one wave that really produced a score there tells you everything you need to know about who's boss at Punta Preta. He called me into this wave yesterday. He was like kind of away from it. I was heading out. He's like, Kai, get the second one. Boom, boom, click, click. All the way through. Here's another replay. And we'll take the highlight reel from there. It's great to have replay because there are these in-between moments. But we want to be careful not to replay in the middle of a set. So let's see what we got here. This is, yeah, well, we're good, but you never know. These guys catch a wave in half a second and you want to be there. Arthur Rutkin might catch one. There we go. Arthur Rutkin on a ride here after his ordeal. Slinking down the line on his duotone rig. F7 and behind him. Ricardo Campello V11111, slice and dice, that's his opening stanza right there. Ricardo looking loose on his Nash gear. Really impressed with this level of riding and the increase of amplitude that he displays with a nice kick out goiter. There's Anthony Runez behind him. And he's gonna have to go for broke here over the rocks, and it might end up, Well, a good thing we're all riding quads because he would have hit the bottom on a single fin and broken his fin box. That'll cost you. Not bad, you guys. The replay really saves it. Thanks for that, Cliff and crew. That gives us a chance to pick it apart a little bit. In fact, I wouldn't mind if we could archive some of these and go back to them even more. Is that possible? Oh, you guys are good. All right. Let's get the timing on the sets and then we'll be in business here. Got some in between here, but you also keep mind on the clock, 24 minutes and change. And we'll see where we're at here. We're rolling. That's my cut button. In other words, when the red light is off, okay, I can mute myself. Or if we get any requests from the Twitter crowd, I've got the panic button. You can just press it for me. Punta Preta in between sets. You get your time to reflect here, though. Josh looks like he really, really is pissed that he didn't get one of those sets when he was on the rocks. But he also knows that this is a little lower nugget here. Keep it on Josh. This is a little grower right above the rock shelf. He can't possibly want to do this. Boom! What you're not seeing, what you just saw is that was over 2 inches of water. It's part of the game here, and he is on a single fin, so he would have hit bottom. Oh, I'm laughing. It's so cool to see the various approaches to this wave. And yeah, you have your go-to setup. Well, the single fin allows you a level of mobility. There's no question about that. But the projection is what people forget. And I'm not sitting here trying to, campaign for the return of the single fin. There's a reason it works really well for Josh. You're driving turns. You're riding places like Punta Preta where speed is key. I don't think Josh would have anything against going on a multi-fin design. It might not be for him. He knows what works and he sticks with it. By and large, the approach that you're watching him ride right now is what won him his contest in 2007 and 2009. Interesting to note, his 2 world titles, happened after he moved to Cabo Verde, and I'll elaborate on that. This place is a training ground for any aspiring World Tour sailor. And the reason being is that they're all different sides of the island that these north and east trade winds hit. And you can go train on onshore, port tack, you name it. We just happen to like our starboard tack 300-meter long point breaks when they happen. And that's the other irony about Cabo Verde is back in the 80s, this place was like a famous speed sailing locale. People were coming here for Santa Maria Bay to go speed sailing and flat water slalom running. It's really good for it. But meanwhile, around the corner, can you imagine? I mean, the first couple people to show up here, Vincent Lartizy and Raoul Lecourtier back in 1993. And that was a small little clipping in a magazine I saw, and I had to come here. I made it an obsession, and me and Scotty Carville, Renaud Zimon, we were here in 96, still really early in the game. And that led to the trilogy, which led to Josh Angulo moving here, which led to a little bit of an in-between moment there. I remember right around 2003, I came back, and me and Josh got it really good with Bjorn Dunkerbeck, and there was a little rip curl video there that came out of that. Classic flick. You can see it on YouTube. Perfect Punta Preta. And before we knew it, Jace Pontebianco, our good friend, came over here, did windsurfing movie, and then 2007 competition started, and that really set it because this place was on fire. And Josh Angulo was on fire, doing his signature one-handed air there. Nice. It's a one-move hit. He thinks he's playing catch-up. What he's really doing, he's playing defense. Staying on waves. And that's what you got to do. The pictures are really dramatic. I realize to some it's super anticlimactic not to see like full-on mast high Punta Preta. Throughout the scope of this event, we're going to be presented a couple different looks on the forecast that we're going to need to interpret whether or not they're going to happen here or elsewhere. But right now, with the opportunity to ride Punta Preta as Ricardo Campello kicks out of a way too deep, shallow offering, you've got to take whatever you get at Punta Preta is the rule of the game. And we're doing the right thing here. Nunez with the kick out air. 19 minutes left in heat number 2, kicking off the 2022 SOMWR 10x Cabo Verde Pro PWA World Cup. And we are back after a 2-year hiatus due to all those factors. And it is so nice to be back here in Cabo Verde. Thank you, PWA, for the commentary gig and the ticket out to one of my favorite destinations ever. Place I've been coming to for 26 years. Places that is just like captured the imagination of every wave sailor out there. This place is just as good as it gets. Campello, full head of steam, kind of didn't like. Definitely on an in-between period. I think we're at peak high tide right now. It's just right up against the rocks. I'll try and get some results to you. You guys following on at home can see them. Bit spotty with the signal here. .362, 438 for Angulo, 812, 5.0 for Campello. It's a comfortable lead. It's not completely fail-safe. Runez with a pair of mid-threes. Arutkin under the 3-point level. It's about wave selection, and you end up on waves, but what you do with them once you end up on them is all the marbles. You're going to get about 2 good shots in a heat like this to separate yourself. Campello definitely got the better of that exchange when that set happened, but he was also out of position for a couple of the best waves that came through in this heat. And it happens. It happens because you get impatient and start chasing tiny waves, thinking it's going to make a difference. And those of you who've competed before understand it. It is definitely hard to explain to somebody who hasn't competed, you know, how important the mental game is and the momentum of that. Getting on good waves early sets you up for success. And nowhere is more elusive than Punta Preta in the sense of being able to find those waves when you need them. And a fair amount of time's gone by here with not a lot of action, and that's going to be the theme for today. And that's, generally speaking, kind of how Punta Preta likes to operate, except on those very, very good days when it's just constantly firing. Bit of an exchange here possible. None other than Josh Angulo lining it up. Knows how to get on waves here. You're seeing it. Nice line off the bottom. Lip contact, lip slide, good recovery. Sets himself up right for the air section. Gets his air over the section. Hello, rocks. Oh, man. 15 minutes to go. Angulo has reached the rocks a second time. Quite possibly gotten himself in a bit of a compromising position, but what you don't see are the people rescuing him. And I might add that rescue happened in about 5 seconds, because why? Because it's Mito Monteiro and the boys. All the pro kiters are some of the best. There's Joe Silva. That was just a show of how much respect Josh has. There he goes, on the rocks. Off the rocks. Me too. World champion kiter. Punta Preta is etched in the lore of kite surfing Hall of Fame. There's no question about the impression that made. There was an early competition kite-wise that was here, I'm sure, by the end of the 90s. And me too. Ayrton Cozolino, Machu Lopez, all kinds of heavy hitters. Henrik Lopez. These guys are just all-time shredders and such cool people. And you see it, you know, like there was a kite event here a couple years ago, and you know, you take over Punta Preta and people respectfully give it to you. This would have been a pretty busy day, actually. There would have been some people here. But trust me, like it magnifies the situation when there's actually maybe like 20 people out in the situation. It's nice to have only 4. Looking good in another potential exchange here. 14 minutes and change. Angulo's hitting the shore break here. He's going to get right back out after that air on the rocks. And he was nerves there. It wasn't, again, like this super good offering, but he got on a wave. He's going to make the decision to pull the trigger. Nobody else got that chance, but he left the door open, unfortunately. I mean, Arutkin and Runes are capable of stealing this heat from Angulo. I don't think Angulo's going to catch Campello, because Ricardo, to his own credit, is going to be out there catching waves too. This is quickly turning into a battle for second. But we'll see. Runes trying to back up a mid-3. Probably lining himself up for a mid-3. There you have it, you know. Cheers. Wide lineup. And it's difficult. You know, Arutkin chose wrong there. He should have been on this wave, right? It doesn't look the same when you're on the outside. You really need to read this like a surfer, intricately. Campello knows how to surf because he's from Los Roques. And this is going to be some Los Roques love right here. V1111. Maybe didn't really feel the Los Roques love, or maybe he just saw that there was more waves coming outside. And maybe he also realized that he'll tempt himself to do an air right under the rocks like Josh did. Let's take a look down the coast at our buddy Josh, who's just now heading out of the shore break. You don't see him on your picture. He'll come into the lineup from your left. So Angulo back in the game, and whatnot. He didn't really miss a beat there. Granted, not everybody's going to be afforded the luxury of the rescue cue that Angulo just had. Trust me, that was all time right there. It's not every day you get rescued by the best kiters in the world. Awesome. Actually, I've had those guys. I've had Tig Lopez, me too's brother. It lifted me off the rocks like Superman with this kite. It's very helpful of him. Here comes Campello, needing no rescue at all. And I don't know if he's going to opt for this one either. And he does not. Campello displaying, you know, the savvy of quality over quantity. You could literally have sailed this heat and only caught 2 waves, but as long as they were the best 2 waves in the heat and you executed your plan to perfection, you're getting through. As we look at some of the camaraderie on the beach here, Punta Preta, it's not, you know, the same scene as 2007 with those like giant crowds. We're not trying to promote that just yet in the situation. We're just happy to be here, being able to bring you a wave event. I mean, for crying out loud, 2 years later. And that, you know, I will emphasize the level of riding. It's not like people haven't been sailing because they haven't been competing. Oh no, they've been perfecting their craft. And the stuff I've seen in the last week of being here almost has been staggering. There's Angulo coming in off your left side of your screen there. Those are our 4 competitors right there. Arthur Arutkin in the purple duo tone Runez on the red Gastra, and Campello on the orange Nash sail. 10 minutes and change in this heat. It does appear that it is still Angulo in second with Campello in first. I guarantee you Josh does not feel safe with his score, but he got a 5 for the air on the rocks, which is his high score of the heat. And looking back, yes, agree. Here are our scores. So Runez is the guy kind of in striking distance. And he has a 3.58. But essentially he is comboed. Well, not necessarily, but he, Runez would need to, get something in the very high range here. And it can happen. You can be in a situation where all of a sudden the wave of the day shows up. Well, you're looking at Punta Preta right now, trying its hardest. And this is just one of those moments where you're like, it's an in-between thing. And that's why we have these long heats. Specifically for that reason. It's just got to get through this in-between time. And, credit to Josh, actually, right now, for making sure that that score happened. Because, you could have, in hindsight, it wasn't worth it. No, it was worth it. You don't know. It shuts off. And then all of a sudden, you wished you had. And Josh already had his missed opportunity. It's going to be, on the tape here. What he did. He followed a little wave in he shouldn't have been on. Or maybe right at the end followed it too long, whatever. Got caught up in the scoring moment in his brain, doing the math. And right then, canceled himself out of a significant set. The set of the heat, really. And I'm sure he knows it. And he's, like I said, it's funny. He was telling me a funny story about the 2007 event. He was in an early heat as well, and apparently he was helping organize the event. So he's in the the media booth, and they've started the contest. His heat's out on the water, but somehow he was in there, doing a task for his organizer duties, and no one was even telling him the heat was on. It was like CV1, and all of a sudden, he's 5 minutes late for his heat. Made it through, obviously, won the contest, but humble beginnings. And this has been another case of that, where he hasn't had his best heat. He's kind of had, crap land on him, actually. It's mostly been self-inflicted, and he would be the first to admit it. But he's scrapping through it. V111. 1. Campello. Outstanding sailor. Always has a little bit of jitters, too, in his competition. He needs to get going, and you saw it. He finally got going there. And once he does, he's deadly. Deadly. While we're in a little bit of an in-between, this is a grower that Angulo's on. This is, going to be a wave that breaks. Little bit off the spot, so it might kind of run wide, and the one behind it is actually better. But this one is going to be an opportunity to get better than his 4.3, but not in his opinion. And I concur. That was a non-starter there. You're going straight on the rocks. Look at the thing run fat and just right on those lime green Cape Verdean scissor sharp rocks. Oh, look at that thing. You could basically have like an obstacle division in this, like obstacle hopping. Board sponsors, take note. If there's craters all over the board, it's not a warranty issue. I was just sailing along, I wasn't doing anything. Some rock came up in front of me. Song remains the same here. Runez in third, 3.58, 3.25. Arthur Arutkin sitting in fourth with a 1.5 and a 2.12. Momentum is a funny thing, but Arutkin, when he got caught from behind on that wave, which was a pretty good scoring opportunity, it was a little disheartening for him, unfortunately. And that can be all she wrote, because you're not looking at a bunch of opportunities here. And we're at peak high tide here, so I do expect a little bit later in the day that the shape of the wave will return to what it was before we started broadcasting and for a good chunk of that first heat. But right now it's clearly up on the rocks here. And just going to have to make hay. A little home cooking, ladies and gentlemen. And a lot of patience. So the gap between Runes and Angulo is a little tighter than the gap between Campello and Angulo. And knowing Josh and how competitive he is, of course he wants to get first place in this heat. But I'll also be the first person to tell you he's going to be really happy just to advance it. But Josh isn't really one of those people to leave it to the hands of the judges. He's a little more assertive than that. He kind of likes to just nudge his way in there and then send the point home, because this has been one of those heats. Let me tell you, Punta Preta will decide this all on its own. It's uncanny, really. And Duncan's looking at this closely as well. I mean, we made it through 2 heats here. It's going to count. Everybody's on the board, right? The 45-minute heat is a long heat, and as you saw, that's required to give these competitors the opportunities that are going to be present. If you just tuned in here and you're like, what are we doing? Every now and then, there's a sick one coming in here. So I think we're fully justified to be competing. And it's very refreshing that we're actually at a right-hand point break to add some diversity to this tour's schedule, which, based on the factors at hand, don't always go to these dream locations. But I feel the sailors spoke up here at the end of last year, and naturally Cabo Verde was probably at the top of the list of places that they wanted to go to, including probably other places like Fiji, stuff like that. Maui is certainly going to be on the list as well. The Aloha Classic seems to be a little bit more of the IWT's event these years, and we'll see what can shake down. We've had both fields in there before, and that was also a really good way to do it in my book. Here comes Angulo giving it a lower look. That's just going to put him in a little better position. He might be well aware that he's in second. That's the thing, he might not know for sure. He did have a little time on the beach for those guys to tell him if that info was available. But with 2.5 minutes left, based on the scope of what we've been seeing here, it's going to take a late rally. And I do see some lines to the outside. And it would be fair if this ended up on an exchange. Here comes Campello, V1111, representing Venezuela. Proudly. And Los Roques, boy, here we go. Campello punches a really nice bottom turn and goes, nah. Wisely so. Lives to sail another day and is in first place in this heat with 1:54 to go. Not a whole lot to do, but just hope that there's not a big macker that... Oh my goodness, Arukin might have something lined up here. Runes is on the inside, speeding towards you. See Arukin's board behind him. There's Runes finishing his wave. There we go. There's Arukin, bottom turning classic Punta Preta look, smashes the lip. That was actually one of his better turns, and Judge Duncan Coombe was rewarding vertical approach. So that first turn was outstanding. I will say that. That was what he wanted to see. Angulo right over Arukin's head. Single fin for the win. Let's see what the judges like about that. This is probably Angulo's best score. Right when he kind of needed it if he wanted to win this heat. Took it home. Nobody else really in play for the lineup. Josh is going to go in 51 seconds. He's like, yep. We'll see if that's going to be the difference maker, or if Campello can shut the door. But I think what he just did more than anything was guaranteed the fact that he's going to advance. Looks like Angulo and Campello as Arthur Arukin, Les Miserables on the inside. Oh mon Dieu. Oh yeah, Campello in with 21 seconds left. Give us something, Ricky. Yeah, well, you know, this is an ordeal, you guys. This is, you know, we like to watch it. We don't even really love to watch it. It's painful to watch. Man, let me tell you. You come all the way here, you know, with some gear, and like that just gets written off instantly. You gotta be careful. But this is a contest, and contests make you do things. There's Brazinho. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. NC21. New Zealand. Let me chime in on that rider. "17 seconds left." That's all she wrote for this heat. Angulo, Campello. Onward and upward. What do we got? Oh, beautiful. Oh, joy. All right.
Red and blue is Poland, blue Albert,
Interesting little pause in the contest here. We'll see what's going on. This is now Swift. Let me make sure. I've been wrong before. It's Warcall, Antoine Albert. That was who I thought Brazinho was. Ezzy and Swift. There you go. And we're on heat number 3. Graham Ezzy representing the United States of America. Antoine Albert, New Caledonia, right? Adam Warcall for Poland. Robbie Swift, United Kingdom. 44 minutes and change to separate these 4 riders. Yes, it's a little slow here. We're at high tide, and that tends to slow this wave down considerably. The amount of swell energy here, not supposed to hang around indefinitely. We are here to make the most of it while we got it. And that's putting competitors in a rather precarious scenario, kind of chancing these scores. This heat has the look of a couple of rock dances upcoming here. What you see are guys on the upwind peak. They're going to start aiming down low. Now look really carefully. You see that there's some outer quarter right here. And Warcall's taking aim at it. But there's really not much to work with. And that shifts, that might have just shifted outside. As Ezzy, we were out last night. It was me, Graham, Morgan, Antoine, Jake Shedaway, Angulo, and Bant Rodiger. What a classic session that was. And Graham learned a lot about Punta Preta last night. And about wave selection. And I think that all these guys who've been warming up at Little Hukipa really missed out on an opportunity there to get to know Punta Preta. But, you know, it was been pretty easy to miss. Antoine Albert. Nice look. That was a good carve to make that wave. He really utilized the part of the wave that was going to allow him to make it. Didn't quite make that last section, though. He might have been out of there anyway, as you do see it clasp directly onto the rocks. Yeah, this high tide situation is really difficult. You know, we are forced to run through the tide window. If we were connoisseurs here, we probably would be on break until lower tide. But this is the only day with the swell direction for Punta Preta, in my opinion, that we're going to see for at least until the end of the contest. There are varying different opinions, and I'm totally happy to be wrong about that. We are mostly able to broadcast live from Ponta Preta, which is one of the limiting factors of going elsewhere right now. But what you're seeing on the swell direction is actually all the other spots would be very similar to this. Without that one touch that Ponta Preta possesses on the good sets, when you just, there's nothing like it.
Cuando hay olas de verdad, yo creo que lo hubiera hecho súper bien.
Right now, though, it's home cooking.
Está tan tricky.
Ooh, on the rocks, home cooking.
Le pasa hasta los mejores, porque yo esta copa como
Grilling.
sola. Y yo sí, vamos, conoce esto mejor.
Albert's out. Duncan, at a certain point, will quantify this the following way. Are the scores at a threshold where both they're not high scores anymore and there's no way to differentiate? That's the key thing. Is everybody being given a fair enough chance to differentiate? Or is it like this one set comes in and that's, I mean, sometimes that's unavoidable. And you kind of roll with that scenario. But if everybody is stuck posting 2-point rides, I don't see Duncan continuing. But until then, we will have these variables and we will have these moments. And Adam Warcall is on a wave that's going to give him a chance to read it correctly, but he's really over it. Doesn't want to go on the rocks. Oh, but he had to. He had to get away from Albert. I see what happened there. Ezzy, unfortunately, not in the spot for the wave that would have been his opening ride, and that's got to be frustrating because he kind of got a look there. And here comes Robbie Swift. Swifty picking up one of the two waves of this set. Somebody would be wise to pick up the second one. Nobody's in position for it. Here comes Swifty. Nice bottom turn, doing the business, getting the spray off with both rails before he kicks out in mid-level rung score. He's not on the rocks list to sail another day. It's right on the rocks right now. I mean, talk about consequences. You just one air onto the rocks, lights out. No. "40 minutes and change." Gramazian, Swift in the top part of the lineup. Warcall and Albert on the outside of them on their hip, so to speak. And it's pretty clear that the swell situation right now is far from ideal. We would love for it to be 6 to 8 foot, but we'll take what we're getting when it shows up. For sure, this is an exercise in patience and just believing in the fact that you're going to get on the wave, that you're going to make a difference in this heat. People should realize, you get a good score even on, shoulder high wave. Though there is a very good chance you're going to end up on the rocks if you blow it. So what? It's a contest. Go. Only one rider on the board right now, though. I know Swifty has a score. He hasn't gotten his score yet. And I think it's going to be better than a 1.38. We'll see about that. This is the waiting game now. In between the sets, you want to hold your ground, but you need to be in position. And right now, the wind just went through a little bit of a fluky patch. And that means these riders, aren't coming in out of nowhere. Warcall's definitely got it playing. Albert's behind him in full hassle mode. Fascinating situation here. What, you got teammates? Windsurfing's not a team sport, apparently. Wow, Antoine Albert just puts his foot down into a closeout and says, whatever, Warcall. Ezzy can't get going for his life, and that's too bad because another one rolled under his feet. And Graham, I think, is on a 5.0 and a 92. We're sharing a car, so I kind of got to look at his gear. Antoine Albert in first place in this heat right now with a 1.38, but we haven't updated. And I might be on a level of internet connectivity where I am not going to update. But I can see the screen, and it's the same story there. So we haven't really finalized Swifty's score. I know he's got a score. In due time, when they crunch those important numbers. definitely an in-between moment here at the 2022 SOMWR 10x PWA Cabo Verde World Cup. That's Ponta Preta. And the waves are there occasionally. We're making the most of it here. And that's about it. High tide breaking right up on the shelf. Couple lower lines squeaking in there. Tough sledding. This is going to be hard for Duncan right now to continue this heat. At a certain threshold, he's going to be forced to make a decision like, it shut down. And right now, I would give this about 15 minutes of this inactivity before he's forced to pull the trigger. Basically only have 2 sailors with scores. Maybe 3. Graham's not on the board. Okay, let's pan to an interview with our Heat 2 advancer, Josh Angulo. Well, hang tight while we get signal for that interview. We have a bit of an exchange here. Antoine Albert. Negotiating the rocks very effectively. They're jumping out of harm's way, so to speak. And that would be Adam's best riding opportunity right here. He's out. Yeah, Adam's on the board after that little bobble earlier. Here's Graham. Can he get on this wave? Is he just too far over? Did the current push him off the peak? Is he on too small of equipment? Something's up. Sometimes you get in this situation here where you're not upwind enough and you're getting pushed off the peak. And Swifty's pumping onto this wave that Graham wants. Graham can't get it. Swifty's on it. That's the difference here. Swifty, a very efficient sailor and able to get on these waves sometimes that other people can't. Here goes an air time for Swifty Airlines. Inner Island. Rock Island. I think everybody's just happy to be back here and back in a contest format. I mean, it's a very important contest. We're deciding the 2022 World Champion here, starting at a right-hand port break. And it's dicey competition. I mean, this is not necessarily a situation that's in anybody's control. You've got to put yourself in the position to get on waves. You have to have the savvy lineup positioning. You also got to be super patient. Look outside behind Antoine Albert. That's kind of like a big line coming in. But what's the game? You know, where are you looking? Are you just anything that breaks and chasing it down? You know, you've got to be in that scrappy desperation mode. If you're Graham Ezzy right now, your heat's halfway over practically, but you haven't even started. Unfortunately for Ezzy, he just looks grossly underpowered. I don't know if that's even a 5.0. That might be smaller. And, you know, the incentive to go in and change rigs right now is really minimal. But I'll tell you, Graham's underpowered. I hope he can find something. He's such a shredder, and he got so many nice rides last night. I was just like, could this be a heat already? All right, Swift in first place, 3.38. It's tight. Everybody has scores. Here's Antoine Albert. We've got an exchange here. This is going well. Now we're talking. Swifty with a full head of steam and a lot of apparent wind off the bottom here, making contact. You can see the effect of the apparent wind when you're riding a point break. Skying over the rocks. Let's pan back out. There we go. War call. Representing Poland and Goya in Quattro. Slides his cut back. You know, it's not lost on him. People watching back home, rooting for him. He got 2 turns on that wave. And a little bit more quarter eye panning into the horizon here. Graham Ezzy might want to see the second one here. Big opportunity for Graham if he can get in the spot. I'm really rooting for him to get back into this here. The second wave outside of Graham would be a really good one to get on. Oh my goodness, he's got it lined up for the first one or the second one. Go, Graham. Second one, like I've been calling. Come on, Graham. Everybody should get on the board. Fair opportunity for everybody. Here's a real opportunity for Graham Ezzy. I'm definitely thinking he's going to catch this wave, and he can't even move. Graham's never been able to get, to the proper spot on the peak, but look at that wave. That would have been gigantic errors. It's really tough sledding out there. I don't know, like what you can say to some of these guys who aren't catching waves. Antoine Albert's going straight on the rocks. Good night. Way too deep. He might get away with it because he tossed his rig. If this second wave doesn't light him up, watch this though. Here goes the rig, and you have no choice but to just take this one on the head. Kaboom! Oh, that's nasty. And the gear's not on the rocks yet. And what you also don't see are all the local boys coming running to help him because he's from New Caledonia, not Cabo Verde. Oh, he bounced off a rock there. If he holds on here, he's got a shot to get off. He should be fine, actually. Duncan's starting to chirp about this. And Duncan, has the concerns of the sailors in mind, and his comment was too much water on the reef. What he's also just referring to is things have just gotten kind of like hard to judge. I don't know if he's made a decision though. I don't hear a horn, but I do see this game of cat and mouse perpetually really making life miserable for these competitors. I mean, Antoine Albert got on a good wave, and the thing just shut down. I mean, that could have ended his whole rig right there. Graham Ezzy in position, a little too far over actually, loses out on this ability to catch the wave. He should have been deeper. I don't think he's really able to do much. I think the rig size is under there. And we'll see what we're counting or not counting here. I haven't heard a decision yet. I mean, technically, people are on the board. How are we going to get to this point where 29 minutes and change, and this is what happens midday Punta Preta here, 22 p.m. or a.m. excuse me, and like we're in the middle of the morning here, so between now and noon, if a little bit of a tide drop swing, I mean, we might want to take a break. We don't want to lose the swell either, but I think you guys at home are kind of tired of watching these guys, sacrifice little chop hops on the rocks. So, while there have been some good moments, and there's certainly everything to play for here at the same time. Okay. Yeah, what I'm discussing has now been decided. This heat is scrapped. And we're going to be counting 2 heats so far here. And this is definitely now not part of the program anymore. And we got a little bit of action at Ponta Preta. I mean, it's not all lost on me here that we ran here, but man, the nature of this spot and it shutting on and off like that really reared its head in the middle of this heat. Nature of the game. You got to play. You got to pay to play. You can talk to any of the number of sailors who've just placed themselves on the rocks here, and it is what it is. All right, we've got Josh Angulo live here. Our technical difficulties have ended, and since this heat is postponed, let's pan straight to the man, CV1, with our correspondent.
Josh, thank you for having us here.
You're welcome.
How was your first heat?
My first heat was scary. It's really scary to be on the water competing against all these young, ripping, energetic kids after all these years, especially here in Ponta Preta where there's a bit of expectation for the whole country and the islands. So I'm happy to get through, to say the least. Bit of a weight lifted. I mean, there's the old thing of like, I'm just here to have fun, but you don't want to go out your first heat, that's for sure. So it was good to get out. The waves were super small on the rocks. It was really Las Vegas crapshoot out there. Who got the sets? Ricardo got the sets, and he won the heat. And I was happy to get second, because second's as good as first in this situation. So yeah, stoked. We got a couple heats going. It's running, a little bit of waves. I think this afternoon we'll get a bit more surf on the outgoing tide. We might be back on in the afternoon.
And what do you expect for the upcoming days? Because I think a lot of people are curious on that one.
Yeah, I really don't have that much expectations as far as like trying to look at the crystal ball. I just pray and hope for the best, and God willing, we'll get surf. I mean, we're here day one. We got a couple heats in the bag. And I do imagine that this afternoon we might have a few more heats. So I think we need to chip away when the conditions are good. We're still, 8 days out, so a lot can happen in the next 8 days.
Exactly, and I think a smart decision. We did the entries yesterday evening, so we were up early here to start straight away.
Well, Punta Preta is always a place we need to take advantage of the conditions. I mean, hypothetically, it can pump for a month straight, but it can also be flat for a month straight. So you need to just be ready to go when it's on.
And when was your last competition? Because I mean, you just said like the pressure is on. Did you ever lose the competition feeling, like the pressure, or like?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% not have been in competition mode. Obviously as the event got closer, it went from like, should I, even compete, to like, okay, I'll do it, to like, okay, I'll do it for fun, to like, I want to win. You definitely go through different. Then you go back to like, I should just do it for fun. Oh, should I even compete? Yeah, you go in and out. I retired in 2009, so 13 years ago. And 09, I already felt like I was at the older end of the age scale. So it was a surprise to have won a world title in 2009. Stoked I did. And, all these years, just mainly stoked, thanks to SOMWR company and all those guys for bringing down the majority of the financing for this event, the Cape Verdean government for putting some money in and a lot of support, and all the local people that have just come together to make it happen.
Cool, thank you. We'll see
you
you later
guys.
on in the water.
Aloha.
All right, that's a wrap from my good friend Josh Angulo, and favorite sailing partner out here, let me tell you. Our ambassador for Cabo Verde, CV1, two-time world wave champion. He said it himself, retired in 2009. Hung up the booms, but didn't stop sailing, didn't stop dreaming. And we're back at Ponta Preta. And Duncan Coombs has suspended competition. And, I follow the whole weather situation here really closely and know this wave intimately. And it's right on the rocks because it's high tide. There's also a secondary pulse expected here. Okay, this is rocket science. I'm claiming that at 2 o'clock Cape Verde time, in roughly 3.5 hours, if not slightly before, the switch will flick. And there will be moments where it shows before there, but we're gonna have action at Punta Preta later today. I have a good feeling about it. We're gonna get a secondary interference pulse here, 2 meters, 14 seconds. And that's how these pulses work. We're in a chain here where you don't get full exposure. Sol is wide open. Punta Preta is not. We need that 300-something degree swell to come in. All right, so we are canceled for the time being. Why don't we sign off to commercial and this screen here? Flycatcher out until further notice. Mahalo.
The board feels great. It's kind of a bigger waveboard, and helps you out a lot on passing the white waters, passing the waves, and like going against the current. In these side onshore conditions, when it's light winds, I'm struggling to do that because of my weight, and on this I felt it's super easy. So I think it's perfect for people to start learning how to wave sail and to jump and wave ride.
We want to make wave riding accessible to everyone in any conditions. Do you want to wave ride even if the wind is light and the currents are strong? The Code 2022 is a free waveboard like no other. with volumes ranging from 85 all the way up to 135 liters. This year we have increased the area behind the fin. This gets you lifted up to speed even quicker. To balance it out, we also increased nose area, which creates a smooth ride in choppy waters. And by adding curvature around the foot straps, the new coats improve greatly in maneuverability during bottom turns and power jumps. The 115, 125 and 135 are the best large waveboards we ever made. With a compact shape and thin rails, you'll enjoy tricky conditions and ride more waves, always with enough flotation under your feet.
In the turns you keep a lot of drive, so you don't really slow down even when the wind gets a little bit patchy. And then it's super nice to have big wave boards like that, like for heavy riders like me, to have a lot of flotation and still be able to wave ride in light wind. It's really, really nice.
The 2022 coats come with two fin setups. With the thruster fins you get the most wave performance. But once you switch around to the larger single fin, the board turns into an agile freeride board. More drive, increased agility and quicker. The new 2022 coats are a significant step forward. Are we promising too much? Come and try for yourself.
The Ultra Code. Our wild waveboard comes either with 5 fin boxes, allowing you to choose a different setup for varying conditions, or as Thruster Edition, making it the lightest waveboard we've ever made. A total of 7 sizes are available in Carbon Reflex, a technology with an industry-leading track record of only 1 board broken per 100 boards sold. The thin rails and slight tail kick provide the Ultra Codes with plenty of grip while carving through your turns. The concave bottom shapes allow for quick rail-to-rail transitions, while the shallow tail allows for faster turns. The compact board design gives plenty of control in strong winds and while jumping and flying through the air.
The board is very fast, so it's super easy for jumping. It's very stable. And for surfing also, it's a nice board because you can lean forward and do a nice bottom turn and push a lot in the top turn.
Thick white water, currents, and dodgy wind conditions often slow us down in the wrong moments. But with its fast rocker line combined with an extra thick center line, we ensure the Ultra Code picks up speed quickly. We designed it so you never have to miss a wave and can set up for the next jump even if you have to cross some white water to get to that perfect ramp.
Feels so comfortable either for jumping or for wave riding. When you want to change the rail into the top turn, you don't lose speed and the fins you can release it really well. Also in the jump, you can go really high because the board's shape.
The 2022 Ultra Code is wild, light, and sturdy. Come and ride your next wave with us.
It's media hora más me tomo otra, ¿eh? Otra me hubiera sentado mejor. Pasa un frío al final. Y pasa un frío. Me quedé calzoncillo y camiseta y como yo con las sabritas. Joder, pues no me podía mover por donde estaba conectado como... Y luego, de este digo, puta, este tenía razón. Y luego pensé, esta mañana me he levantado y he puesto el calefactor. Digo, soy retrasado mental. Toda la noche pasando frío para nada. Ahí va. Ya, pues salimos. Y ese gesto que acabo de hacer es muy difícil. Saber salirse así. No. Hay que tener... Para que no te enganchen la tele, ¿cómo se llama? La pis, ¿cómo se dice? Floare. Celillo me gusta mucho. ¿Te gusta? Pozo, me encanta. Me gusta mucho aquí. Ayer lo he visto bien. Y lo he visto bien, pero el pozo en directo hace 2 años, cuando ya era un enano, y así es. Yo creo que tenía mucha altura, pero ahora está más fuerte, ahora sí, antes era más canillito. Increíble, tiraba todo. ¿Cuántos metros de vela? Allí con la velita y hacía taca, hacía boiler, hacía de todo. Master. No para de coger olas. Es el único que coge olas, no entiendo. Ahí va, ¿no? Bueno. Atrás te va a dejar seco. La piedra que tiene delante. No, igual es un error de esperar. Un error de no mirar atrás. No, en la piedra. Una piedra que te caga. Por eso así. No, pero ahora ya puedes salir, porque el mar se queda sale. No, pero de queda. Podría haber salido por las piedras. ¿Por qué están perdido las quillas? No. Ah, que son negras. Falta una. Es negra y falta una. Yo pensaba que era perdido. Algunas casas. Sí, pero no, casas sueltas. Es que yo corría por ahí. ¿Visto el espigón?
Ya el espigón.
Había viento. Yo iba. Y el espigón, escúchame una cosa, me estaba diciendo antes con el que hablaba el chico local de aquí, que cada 2 por 3 cuando hay un maretón se van las piedras y tienen que poner piedras. Dice que se gasta un dinero el tío en reponer piedras.
Pero el espigón para qué está, por
para
una puerta deportiva,
los hoteles.
Una playa,
Sí, exacto. salió corriendo por ahí. Yo salía de Santa María corriendo, iba por la carretera y volvía por la que me hemos cogido y volvía y no había nada. Con Jaycee corría. Bueno, que llega lo de izquierda allí, ¿eh? Y luego voy a decir Punta Preta, no sé qué. He navegado en Punta Preta. Súper radical hoy. El material. Que empezamos en 5 minutos ya oficial, oficial, ¿no? Pues ahora no hay nada. Ya, pero antes hubo, ese es el problema, que entre el anuncio y lo primera posible son 20 minutos. Es demasiado tiempo. Pero 20 minutos, uy, bien. Lo que pasa es que tú, si tú haces los anuncios, el competidor en realidad no tiene que tener el traje puesto. ¿Sabes? Entonces se le tiene que dar tiempo a que se pongan el traje, tiene que ver, la tiene que meter y meterse. Te puedes adaptar también a los sitios. Si no, lo tienes un short y hace calor, pero si no lo haces, lo dejas en el pantalla, ¿no? Y dejas 10 minutos desde que te avise. Entonces ya ni anuncio ni nada.
¿Quién es?
No, pero está entrando.
El con la Loft 500. ¿Quién es?
Tranquillo.
Y Star Wars.
Y ahora ya está bajando la marea. Va a ir mejorando.
¡Oh, my! ¡Uy!
¡Caución, Mike!
Monster.
A ver,
En la cara de Jaycee.
muy recto.
¡Uy!
Creo que es la primera que coge.
¡Uy! ¡Qué fucking hell!
Puedes partir, tiene una pierna ahí.
No para de coger la máquina. No para de coger la máquina. Si me he hecho una manga, te digo que pasa sobrado.
Uy, 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 uy.
La cantidad de unas que hago.
Mis daños.
Ajá.
With me.
Buena
Pero
hora
se
de
queda
nada.
siempre en la lista. Finally. Oh, qué buena conexión.
Ah.
engraçada para Cabo Verde, através do Serviço de Sala Internacional CV Móvel. Uma equipa pode fazer através de blink.com, ou pode fazer através de mobilecharge.com, ou pode localizar pontos de venda que está disponível no país que você está.
Saldo internacional da CV Móvel.
Fica ligado.
The Ultra Code. Our wild waveboard comes either with 5 fin boxes, allowing you to choose a different setup for varying conditions, or as Thruster Edition, making it the lightest waveboard we've ever made. A total of 7 sizes are available in Carbon Reflex, a technology with an industry-leading track record of only 1 board broken per 100 boards sold. The thin rails and slight tail kick provide the Ultra Codes with plenty of grip while carving through your turns. The concave bottom shapes allow for quick rail-to-rail transitions, while the shallow tail allows for faster turns. The compact board design gives plenty of control in strong winds and while jumping and flying through the air.
The board is very fast, so it's super easy for jumping. It's very stable. And for surfing also, it's a nice board because you can lean forward and do a nice bottom turn and push a lot in the top turn.
Thick white water, currents, and dodgy wind conditions often slow us down in the wrong moments. But with its fast rocker line combined with an extra thick center line, we ensure the Ultra Code picks up speed quickly. We designed it so you never have to miss a wave and can set up for the next jump even if you have to cross some white water to get to that perfect ramp.
Feels so comfortable either for jumping or for wave riding. When you want to change the rail into the top turn, you don't lose speed and the fins you can release it really well. Also in the jump, you can go really high because the board's shape.
The 2022 Ultra Code is wild, light, and sturdy. Come and ride your next wave with us.